Good morning.
Lungelo.
Good evening.
Hey,
good
guys.
afternoon. We got Mr. Lungelo Ngobo in the building. Lungs, how you doing?
Doing great, bro. How are you?
Good. I'm happy.
Yeah,
I'm
remember
very,
the
very
mic,
happy.
Lungi.
I'm very happy. Today we have the monster of machines in the building. Lungs, tell us what you got in front of you there, man.
Today we have a Hammond C3 with a 122 Leslie.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's have fun with it and hear how it sounds.
Let's go.
Cool.
Tell us a bit about that song, Lungs.
That's an original called With You. It's coming out on my upcoming album. Well, it's going to be an EP first. Look out for that. Yeah.
Play us the intro vamp just a couple of seconds so people can see what you're doing there. So he's not only a great organ player, he's a great arranger, songwriter, and we're just waiting for him to sing. All right. This next track we're going to do for you guys is called Bless the Lord. It's a track that I produced. Obviously, there's no vocals because we're featuring instruments today. And again, Lungs, I say Lungs, but it's Lungero. Thank you so much for being here.
Only a pleasure, man.
It's an honor working with you.
It's great to be here.
One of SA's finest musicians, not just the organ player, but musicians.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about today. Let's have some fun, man. You ready? Let's take him to church.
Let's go.
the next song we're gonna play?
The next song you're gonna do is "Trust and Obey." It's a hymn, but we obviously gonna play it with some flair,
With some spice.
Yeah. So let's go with it. much. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, guys. I'm going to stand here for now. Johan will sort out the camera. Marlon, is it okay if I take over? You were like on a roll there, you know. One of your heroes in the house. Just first of all, again, thank you for SA Backline for giving us the organ to use. Those who didn't see it, I spoke to Uncle Gorksy yesterday. I had a great interview with him as well. So obviously, just quickly from a technical perspective, I'm going to grab this camera just now and show you a couple of the mic solutions. We're using what we call a closed miking scenario at the moment, because obviously Marlon is making a little bit of noise. The Leslie's right over here on my left. We've got 3 mics on it, the typical left-right with the low mic. Using the AE2300s from Audio Technica on the top with Beta 52 on the bottom. But I have also set up some what we would call far mics, a stereo pair of 414s, to capture the whole instrument. So we'll talk about that a lot just now. So, Lungi.
Yeah.
Not Lungi. Pastor Lungi broke something of ours yesterday, but it's fine. Why organ?
I don't know, man. I think it's something that just comes to you. Probably it was God-given, because I studied piano. I just studied piano, and then I went to varsity. I went the whole way studying piano, jazz piano, and all of those things. And I just got to play an organ, and I decided to practice it as much as I could. And next thing, I'm playing organ. It's the only thing I play, like day by day.
Well, you do it very well.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
An organ patch on a keyboard and an organ is two completely different things.
It is totally different. It is totally different.
And we spoke a little bit about that last week. I mean, I sort of pushed buttons, like, why don't you just play a C2D or an electric one? It's obviously a better keyboard. But there's obviously characteristics here that come out which translate better. I mean, this instrument is an analog instrument.
That's right.
The Leslie 122 that we've got over there, all of it forms part of what you hear, and then you adjust with the sliders.
True.
Let's quickly do a technical for those people who don't understand how an
what's
organ
going
works.
on. Yeah.
Just talk us through the bits and pieces. Remember to speak in the mic.
Okay. Briefly, just to show you guys, these are presets right here where it's like invert colors. These are presets basically from the C sharp to the A. So basically there's different tones all the way. But when we get to the B flat, that's where I deal with these drawbars. And when we get to the B, I deal with these drawbars. The same applies here on the top, that this B flat deals with these and this B deals with these. And these two right here, that's the bass right there in a low octave, and the next one is up an octave. So it depends on what you want to do. So usually what we do, like initially when you start, you'd have like a very warm tone, so you'd probably just pull that first draw, and that's just absolutely mellow. And for more volume of what you're doing, you'd like to pull this drawbar right here, because this on its own, it's like very muffled. So this adds like some depth on what you're doing. So gradually they in terms of like frequency, I think it goes up. Am I right?
Harmonics,
yeah. It goes up in terms of frequency. So as you go, it gradually grows and opens up the sound. But the purpose of the draws is, besides that, it's tones. It's different tones. Some call it flutes, and harmonicas and all of those things. But it's basically created of like overtones, all contributing to one major sound, which is that, And then obviously what I just did now, that's basically the rotary vibe on the Leslie. So this is where I think the one thing for me that actually kills the C2D, because the Leslie, right here, when I go to like a fast rotary, you can feel what's happening, like the tone. If we had a C2D, you'd feel the difference. That it's like simulated in a way, but it's not really rotating, like, since we can literally see.
We'll put a camera
We
there
can
now.
literally see.
I'm actually going to move
yeah,
this
yeah,
camera there now. You'll see me on that one.
So that right there really makes the rotation different from a rotation that would be made via software. Something that's real is obviously far more
analog.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So basically, if you
switch that rotation first again.
So if I have to switch, it goes to that. So there are 3 different switch positions you have. There's one called, basically it's the stop. So it's gonna go on and actually come to a complete stop. But it will take a bit of a while.
Yeah, because it's mechanical. So it's
yeah.
So
down. And then there's a slow where, so sound-wise, it's basically like this. That's the stuff we do in church while people are talking. And then oh yes. And pull it back. That's the stuff you do in church, you know. You know what I mean?
So while I'm here, I'm just going to quickly, people can see the microphones that I'm using. I've got the 2 mics on the high flutes. And then the bass mic is in here, the bass speaker. I've got a mic on the other side. And there's the speaker, but it's playing into a sound box underneath it. And you can see there's a rotary there as well. So in the bottom, the place where we put the mic on the other side, oops, sorry. So that's at the bottom of the box where there's a rotating flute as well for the bass box. So you also get the same rotations going on the bass speaker. And then what I've done here is I've put 2 4-on-4s. So the mics you're listening to the organ with now are these 2 mics. So this whole cabinet, I'm going to turn around. Sorry, I'm not a camera guy. Move. This thing's fighting me. So the whole box there creates the sound. If you close mic like we are now, you'll hear that when the drums is playing, obviously we get a lot of level out of the organ, but there's some elements that's overemphasized, some elements that's underemphasized. The one that's overemphasized a little bit too much is that growl, that breakup, because you're so close. And I'm going to switch. I've got a keypad here. I'm going to switch between those mics and these 4-on-4s, so you can specifically hear that. So while he's playing now, just while that's happening there, I'm gonna put this camera down. And now what we're listening to now are the closed mics. And now we're listening to the 4-on-4s. And you can immediately hear the body of the sound is completely different. So we were talking earlier that, you know, when you're going to record an organ, you need to record the whole instrument.
True.
And get away from it so you can hear what the whole body's doing. But
that's right.
In the typical gospel vibe these days, on most stages, you know, you're limited in the length of the cable. Because the Leslie obviously gets powered from the organ. There's a little harness that goes through. So that cable is generally about 12 meters long. But if you're on a stadium stage, you know, you need to get very far away, and then it's not going to work anymore. So what we then tend to do is we place it under the stage or somewhere, and we isolate it as much as we can. But we do tend to have to get closer with the mics than what we would want to. But it doesn't mean you get the worst sound. It just means, like, if you go to the desk now, you'll see I've EQ'd those 2 closed mics a little bit duller because they're so close, to try and match what we're getting with the far mics a bit more. But I mean, the best sound is like this. But if we had to stay on these far mics and then Marlon starts playing, it's just, you know, we lose the organ.
True.
Because that percussive sound is so much louder. So it's a best of two evils. So if you're going to close mic it, two things is important. You'll also see those closed mics with pop filters on because there's wind going there. A lot of guys just put 57s there, and then there's like blowing on the mics. Those kind of things. So you got to put them right, put them in the right place. You've also got to consider the mechanical aspects. Leslie's travel well if they get taken care of, but sometimes guys are a bit rough with them, and there's some components that needs to be tightened up and all that kind of stuff.
Can I just add a point there, Cristo? While you were talking about the blowing of the Leslie, that really affects me sometimes, because some sound guys, they will put a gate like
to try
and keep that away. And
they actually put a gate on because when you get that close, not the blowing. That box is alive. It's making a mechanical sound.
True.
There's it's alive. So when the pastor's preaching and the organ's up, I hear this.
True.
So the guys gate them. But then what does that do to you?
Sometimes it affects me because, for example, I won't just start up you want to. It will really be. And this is going to be very mellow and very, and I don't know in terms of threshold how far some go, but sometimes it does become a bit too much where I'm like, and then you're going to start getting stuff. Yeah, exactly. And then when you actually, then now you're going to start feeling it, and that affects
because
me.
You're obviously playing on what you're hearing. And it's affecting your swells and all that kind of stuff.
So,
and the close miking we were talking about earlier, you pulling drawbars to set tonals in the notes you're playing, and if the mics are EQ'd wrong, and the reason I say EQ'd wrong, a lot of guys, if there's a lot of vocals on stage and all that, it's difficult for an organ to cut through, so they tend to thin it out a bit, because a lot of guys have got that right hand mentality that you only want to hear those little runs on the but you're doing other stuff, and then you listening to that EQ and you're adjusting according to the EQ.
True.
And then you start, different things starts happening on the Leslie, which is not actually what you're trying to do, and you get a very inconsistent tone, because you'll pull a lever and you're not hearing it like you think you're supposed to hear it, and then you over pull it and all that kind of stuff.
That's right.
So it's important to understand how, and it's like any other instrument when we're miking it. We have to listen to it, we mic it, and we go listen to it and hear the difference, because if you close mic an organ and you hear that overemphasized growl or something, you go, oh, this thing's blown, the speaker's distorting. But you're actually going for the growl. You want a little bit of dirty and then clean and then dirty and then clean. It's part of the organ sound.
What it can do.
If it's mic'd wrong, it overemphasizes that mechanical aspect.
That's true.
And then it becomes a problem, because now I can't EQ that out, and you playing. So now what do? It's like a. Because there's nothing I can do. I mean, I can turn the gain down on the box, and then that just kills everything you're trying to do. Because obviously there's a amplifier in there with a tone or gain control for the high flute, the low flute, and then an overall master. And if you turn that down so there's no growl, then again you just pull out all the faders because you're trying to get a growl.
Yeah, I really like what you did though with the mics, with what you put, because let's say I've got it on Foss Tremolo. Sometimes that's gonna bother me if I'm not playing. I'm gonna remember, because I can hear it, that oh man, okay, it's and
going.
Now, it's going, and that shouldn't be the case sometimes. And I think that's really helping, because currently, whether it's fast or slow, it's not affecting me. So I think,
but it's there again. It's a combination of gain structure, quality of the instrument. I mean, these things are old. They need to get serviced. Their valves need to get checked.
True,
the belts need to be oiled properly. There's oiling procedures for these things. Because it can start getting noisy if you've got a bad power supply or something. The Leslies can start making a lot of noise, and even start losing pitch.
True, it has happened many times.
If I can jump in here. One of the things that for me is key is when working with an organ player is they do so much from a texture point of view that it is incredibly important that his monitoring sound that he's hearing is great, because from a musical point of view, if all of us are playing, we might all be playing the same song, but the textures that you are literally creating on the spot it keeps changing with every 5-10 seconds.
That's true, yeah.
So you have to be comfortable in your monitoring setup.
Yeah, because you don't really get like a slider configuration that works no matter what volume you're at.
True.
You sort of you set a tone. You're playing behind the pastor or behind the band, and then when the chorus comes in, you go a bit louder. You have to go to adapt that because, like he says, the texture. The louder you go, the softer you go, the texture change. You've got to adapt the whole time. So it's a very interactive sport.
True, yeah.
So, and then one of the things that came up yesterday in our conversation with keyboards, because obviously not everybody has access to an organ all the time.
Yes.
There's a limited amount in the country that work well. There's a lot of organs.
Yeah.
Some of them are not that well taken care of, and it's not how it looks or anything like that. I mean, a big thing for me is we get a lot of requests for a B3 and not a C3.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then obviously a B3 has got the thin leg frame.
Yes. It's far more open
Works with the
bottom.
same Leslie,
Yeah.
same controls, but it's a different casing.
Yeah, different body there.
So it looks better on camera. But there's a lot of C3s because they travel well. They're more sturdy. They're more solid.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. I mean, even the pedal boards. I mean, there's you've got to take care of the pedal boards, and I mean, I've been underneath an organ many a times fixing pedals and little leathers and all that kind of stuff, or opening the back and fixing a volume control that's coming loose and stuff like that. It is a mechanical instrument. So besides the nuances, if you had to play on a gig with a C2D, for example, or even like a stage 2 or something with organ patch, how does it affect your actual playing? Because obviously on a normal Nord, you don't have sliders.
Yeah.
So do you create different presets?
Well, the Nords, the C2D and the stage, what they have, the stage, they have buttons that serve the purpose of drawbars. Well, the C2D does have drawbars. Well, with the C2D, you can express the same, you can pretty much do the same thing. The only thing is, for me, who is
the real thing,
into the sound of it, it doesn't really convince me. At first, because we weren't so exposed to the actual instrument, it was fine. You know, it was fine. It was convincing if you've brought a C2D, like you playing organ, you know what I mean? And that's how it got so popular as well. But like, as we got to get back into the actual organ and having access to it, that's where we're able to like actually do all of these things that we can do with it. Like, for example, with the track that we just did with Marlon, the one you did with the click track, there are like effects that you can do here that won't sound the same on a C2D. You know, like when I have to that's something if I wanna start a track, like before I do that, like maybe if we're grooving, let's just groove, like do sort of like an intro before we get into a heavy groove. And then give a space in 1, 2, 3. Those kind of effects, if you could hear that, you know what I mean? In a C2D it won't sound right. And also like with the percussion thing, the percussion is real here in some way that it's done, but in a C2D, because it's all digital and they try to make this, they did well.
Yeah, they emulate.
Yeah,
and
they
it's
emulate.
The same thing with piano patch. I think pianos has just been around longer.
Yeah.
You know,
Also, you can have a situation where if you're playing like weighted keys, with a great Fender sound, a Fender patch, that might work well for you. But until you've played a Fender Rhodes,
Totally different story.
Now, Gorksy's got, I think he said he's got 6 of them that he stripped apart. He's waiting for parts from the States. He's refurbishing all of his Rhodes.
Oh, wow.
So they're going to sound amazing when they get put. I mean, this organ itself, I mean, this is not a standard organ. I mean, this one has been modified. The Leslie's been modified. The low end on this thing is absolutely phenomenal. It's clean. It's not overbearing. The tonal quality is still there. but there's something about this specific Leslie. So when I do gigs the last 2-3 years, I make sure that I book this Leslie. I don't just book an organ. As long as I get that Leslie, it's going to sound amazing.
Yeah, that's something else we don't have with the C2D. Like, like good bass, like low end. Because, like, for example, if I'm playing by myself with like a vocalist or whatever, I want to hear it.
Yeah.
I want to hear that bass. Oh. You know what I mean? Because it has to be there. And like, you remember this last time?
So even for the guys watching, even those bass notes, the guys can just check the console for me. But I'm sure we're listening just to the 2 414s now. So all that low end, these 2 414s have got no EQ on them, no filters on nothing, straight facing the cab. So that low end, everything is. I mean, that's what the instrument sounds like, and it's just where I'm standing. That's what I'm hearing, and that's
what
the most accurate representation of the instrument.
I remember the last time we were in a stadium once, recording, and when I take my ears off and listen just to...
you're on stage. But
yeah. And I can hear that bass and hear everything I'm doing, then we're good. Right. Because I'm going to play by myself at some point.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah, I'm going to play by myself at some point, and it's got to be right.
Yeah.
Because when I'm playing with the band and everything, I probably won't use the bass for a very long time until I have to play by myself. Then I'll use the bass pedals.
Yes.
So that's where...
Well, I mean, that's just part of the arrangements. You're understanding the music.
You're
not trying to take over. I don't know if there's any questions that's coming through. I'm checking my WhatsApp here. Johan can send through some... I didn't tell people. We are live, so you can send us questions, by the way. If you've got questions for Lungelo or me or Marlon.
I'm having a bad hair day.
Marlon's having a bad hair day. He needs a new barber. But I think, from my point of view, obviously, I love an organ on the stage. It's just, it works. But if it's just there if it's a keyboard player playing the organ, you can hear it.
Yeah.
Have you been in some situations, Cristo, where you walk into a place and you heard or you saw the setup and they literally asked you to come in and do crisis management?
Yeah.
With the organ.
Well, the crisis management with the organ is it's a combination. Technically I can mic it up, but it's there's so much to do with the person sitting there playing. And that's why I made the point earlier. If you've and Gorksy said it yesterday. If you want to get into organ so that you can use them on gigs, phone him up and you go sit at his place. You play. His doors are open. You can go sit there, play on an organ, get the feel of it, see what it sounds like. Because if you've only been electronically exposed, what is from your perspective? If you've never played an actual organ, you've only used patches or C2D or stuff like that. What's the transition like?
It's a huge problem for many. Basically, for one, just to start it off, you like to put it on is a problem for one.
Yeah, how to switch it on.
Because it's not just turn it on and voila.
Yeah, you got to heat up the valves.
You have to run it, and there's a way of doing it. You don't just do it because you could blow up stuff, And then also knowing what I just explained about the presets and setting up the drawbars and all of that, you got to know how to do that. And then also, if you're playing a keyboard, it's only recently that keyboards, like even Yamahas and Korgs and whatever, when you play organ, if you like press on a sustain pedal, they actually don't respond. It's only recently.
Okay, yeah.
Like before, if you press the sustain pedal, it sustains the organ, So now, if you are used to that and you're coming here, you're in trouble because everything has to be in, like, you have to move around here. You don't have sustain. You have to sound full. You have to sound complete. You have to sound like you're not missing a sustain pedal.
Yeah.
And also,
I mean, talk about sustain pedals. I've had some interesting discussions with pianists that go the other way. They're used to pianos and they get onto playing stage pianos, electric pianos, and they figure out they can layer. And they put a string in. But they don't think about the sustain.
Yeah.
So you play this chord and you sustain like you normally do, and then you move on, and then you've got this really weird hanging.
It's still there.
Yeah, string stuff, and the oaks are moving on. It's just like, even that is a different kind of playing, It's like it's the same thing going to an actual piano for a pianist. You know, if you've played like high-end montage and stuff, it's similar, but it's not the same.
True.
Yeah.
True. Because if I had to make an example, like for example, if I had to say what I did there, I don't know if the view right now is on my hands, but like I have to like there's movement over here, and also the left hand is so crucial. Like
because it's like there's no sustain, so you have to.
And if you could see, like literally, if I play, this is how it is. Whereas if you're playing,
It's
a
almost
piano,
like one hand with 10 fingers.
Yeah. Whereas if you're playing piano, you have to, you know, do stuff because you also have to fill up and all of that stuff. But here. There's a lot happening in the left hand, and also the movements. So that's why we have stuff like, you know, like movements that you have to learn, teach yourself, or I don't know, find a way.
Have you been asked to teach organ?
Yeah, there's been guys that actually approached me. I taught a few. Because we didn't have much time, I didn't do much of it. But as time goes, I will definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Anything from your side still? I mean, not seeing any questions. People are quiet. I think they're just overwhelmed by the by the skill set.
Yeah.
I think from my side, it's just you know, any instrument on stage, organ, keys, drums, bass. We spoke a bit about it last week, you know, and I spoke a bit with James as well. You know, garbage in, garbage out. I mean, I can only do so much with what I get. I can mic it as best as I can, but when there's no skill coming at me, I don't have a talent button.
Yeah.
In studio, you can quantize and you can do this and you can do that, but live, we're so dependent on what you guys give us to get to us to the point where we do our technical part, and then I sit back and I enjoy what I'm getting. You know, it's like
one of the things Lungelo can vouch for is growing up in the communities that we grew up in. We're actually both from KZN, the best place in the world. In the smaller churches, in the smaller communities, you would very, very seldom see like a massive band on stage.
Yeah.
Because they just didn't have the budget, they didn't have the, you know, a lot of the stuff. So you could walk into a church and there's probably 100 people and the church service is blazing and you're thinking to yourself, my goodness, what is going on here? And there's maybe 2 ladies in the front row with tambourines.
Yeah.
There's that organ and somebody with the kick and snare. And that entire drive is being made rhythmically, modally, chords, everything from the organ. So that's how we kind of grew up, you know. And it was always the organist shouting at the rest of the band.
Pardon?
You become the instrument. This is just this helps you express what's in you. You know.
Yeah,
and I think
like
that's the when that penny drops. I think that's when and that's on any instrument. When the guy goes from counting, you know, to actually just flowing, that's the difference.
Yeah, because like for example, if like I'm at church and I'm missing musicians, if I'm there and the organ is there, we can go. You know, we can go.
Yeah.
Like, and you won't even feel like
we've even got percussion here. We don't even need a drummer. Hey, switch on, let's
That's cold, man. That is just so cold. He needs us, especially if we go here. 2, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
I think Marlon just had to get that out of his system. We got a question here. Obviously, there's one for me asking, what's the most basic EQ for an organ? Yes, that's the short answer. The long answer is have a listen to it. You need to know what an organ sounds like. So if you're getting it from an electronic keyboard, you should be able to leave it flat. If your PA is set up right and everything's right, left, right, out, flat, no, don't do anything to it because the organist is doing it. And that's something we said earlier. If he's trying to manipulate the tones that he's playing by moving sliders around, and if you're doing aggressive EQs to either sharpen it up or dull it out or something like that, he's going to counteract you, and then it just becomes a snowball effect. So a Leslie itself, like in this case, listen to what the Leslie sounds like at about a meter or two away, and then listen to it on the microphone. So if you're in a PA or in a church or somewhere, go and have a listen to what the organ sounds like while the organist is playing, and then go and listen to how it's translating, because there's obviously there's a bunch of stuff in line. So the idea is to get it to sound as natural as possible. And then there's a question here. The different drawbars affects different frequency levels. We did that in the beginning. Maybe just show us that one, play one note and how the different drawbars bring in.
Okay. Basically, I'm just gonna play the note of C. That's C. I'm not gonna change the notes I'm playing, but I'm gonna change the drawbars. And basically, this happens. That's a G, up an octave, and that's a C again, which is up an octave from there, and then that's okay. Doesn't work there. Okay, mechanical. Yeah, let's go to that. Okay, a lot of draws may have some issues here. There's that. Okay, that's the one that doesn't have. But that's basically up an octave from there. And that's up an octave from there. And that's the C again. And then here's the interesting one. That's an E. Up 2 octaves. And then that's another G. Up another octave. And then the final C.
Sure. So bring them all in.
So if I have to gradually, I'll just pull. Those are the C's. And then here's that. So if you have to listen, if you know notes clearly, you'll know that it's basically a triad. It's a triad like C, E, G. Just played in different,
but on one key.
Yeah. So here's the interesting thing. Now I'm playing more notes than one.
Okay.
With all of these overtones. So that's the whole sound. It's made of overtones and tones. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that explains a lot. But it just shows you again you said it, your knowledge of chord structures, your knowledge of music,
yes.
combined with what you're doing, because you can actually make big mistakes as well, if you don't know where you're playing at.
Yeah. One thing, Cristo, I think it's a question other people might have. In terms of level, when we sound checking and a sound guy says, please give me your biggest volume. Yeah. For me, I don't think it's this. Just correct me if I'm wrong, because I believe in terms of level, that's also
it's fuller, yeah.
Basically, because this, as much as if it's in the same level, that's just another tone.
Yeah, you're adding elements to it, but
it's not like
it's not going to change my gain structure, no.
Yeah, because I've got that a lot.
Look, I wouldn't ask if I know the songs that are going to be played. I often pick a song and I ask you to play me that chorus part or something, because I know that's where you're at, and then from there I can work backwards. You know, because obviously you will come in from really low behind the pastor and swelling in and that kind of stuff. But I've got to be able to get there. And if I, you know, I have to ask you to play dynamically like I would with a guitarist. You know, if I said everything while he's just in himself playing, and then he gets up and volume pedal up and goes, it's a problem. You know? And vice versa. So
I've also had another thing where guys say, please try and play in another register, because what you're playing is in a similar register as
the vocals.
Yeah, vocals, and sometimes they say piano. Please move away from that. I personally don't like to do that because it's not what I do. If I play a song, for example, if it would have been great if we had a band right now. Let's say if I had to play whatever. If I play that, I can't.
It's
you know,
it changes completely. So because I mean, I've made a comment before where if it's a big gospel thing with 12 vocals on stage and a keyboard and a piano and a guitarist and a bassist, when everybody's going, this gets masked like anything else. But that's where, for me, that's where the MD comes in.
True. Yeah.
If the chord structures are right and the guys are playing the songs, what needs to feature will feature.
Yes.
You know?
That's right.
And sometimes the organ is just a little bed that's soft in the background, and other times it pops out, but it's based on the arrangements. You know, that for me is, you can have the best skilled musicians on stage, but if they're all playing everything, you know, it's a fight. So the production element is key.
Personally, for me, in a musical perspective, I'm more of the carpet with like the drum and the bass. Whatever they do, I'm in the same marriage with those guys, and I have the liberty of doing other things is in between, but the main purpose is to basically give the piano some space to do stuff, because piano players also like getting crazy and being heard. But all I do is that. So I like staying here, you know, because if we're going in a song, you know, all I'll do is just stay there, you know what I mean? That's all I'll do. And then only when the song picks up, and then only when it picks up. And also what I'm doing is I'm not really changing register. I was just pulling up these draw bars, and because I
was watching you. You're playing the same stuff, but you're adding in those
because of what we spoke about earlier and the different octaves they give you. You may think I moved up, but I didn't change what I was doing. I just went up in terms of register here, and also with the organ you have to go a lot with like the momentum with the drummer. If the guy is loud, I can't be like, you know. You can't do that. It doesn't make sense, you know. And that's another purpose of the organ, is basically to just like embellish or amplify the momentum. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
We got a surprise.
A surprise.
Yeah. Special request from Cristo. And he'll tell me when he's ready.
Yeah. So we're gonna end off with the offering. No, I'm kidding. We're gonna end off with a nice hymn. Lungelo's gonna play us out. Marlon's gonna put the sticks down and share us his vocal talent. And then we're gonna say goodbye to everybody. Please watch us. I mean, if there's any questions, keep sending them through. Anything you want us to discuss or take further, anytime. And off you go.
Great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Father. There is no shadow compassions, they fail not. As thou hast been, thou forever will be. Great is thy faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand has provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Summer and winter, springtime and harvest, sun, moon, and stars in their courses up above, they join with all nature